I don't think we gave them much room or latitude on Saturday. The protests were peaceful for the vast majority of the time until at 6 o'clock you had a group splinter off and made its way south. They didn't get reckless or problematic till they got to the northeast corner of the baseball stadium, to which they started to then act up. We moved resources that were already down in this area to take care of the larger crowd to address them. We did address them, and we took them to jail. We prepared today for a Mondawmin corridor. We didn't give them room. I was there. I saw our reaction, and I gave them direction to advance on them. They just outnumbered us and outflanked us.
Wow, and that is a comment that really has grabbed headlines. It's Anthony Batts, the police chief from last night, and that was yesterday. There is an entirely different posture in the city of Baltimore today, and they're hopefully, as best they can, and learning from the mistakes of the past 18 hours or so, not to be repeated today. Will that happen? Bill Gavin's a former assistant director of the FBI, and he's my guest out of Boston now. And Bill, you have looked at this, and how is it that if you're running a city, or even a state for that matter, that you can find yourself in a situation where you are outnumbered and outflanked? Can you explain that?
Bill, as we've known for years, where civil disobedience is permitted, civil disobedience will prevail. The actions of the police department, not the men and the women that are actually on the front lines with the protectors and the helmets and the batons, the administrative people who run the police department made a horrendous mistake in this particular one, and they have to take responsibility for what happened here. They should. The first rock thrown is the first person to get arrested, and everyone after that until you put an end to it. Then you can address the situation. But during the course of something like this, during the course of people jumping up and down in police cars, during the course of people throwing rocks at police, you cannot get ahead of it unless you put that problem down.
Well, it did not happen. Now answer this, Bill. We talked to our Fox crews who were out deep into the late hours last night, and when they were watching looters in front of them and police officers standing them and watched them do that, they asked the cops, they said, "Why are you not stopping this?" And their answer to our Fox crews was, "Talk to the mayor." What's that about, Bill?
Bill, that's absolutely right. They are not permitted to do, they were not permitted to do what they are trained to do. They could have stopped this, the fine men and women of the Baltimore PD could have, but they were restrained. They had reins put on them, they had leashes put on them by their superiors, by the mayor and whoever else is responsible for letting them do the job that they're employed to do and are so capable of doing. Nobody felt worse than those people on the front line. I will guarantee you that.
Yeah. There is increasingly this story building here that hundreds of teenagers essentially were talking to each other through social media and perhaps on the cell phone in their pocket, and what amounted to a flash mob where they were intent on causing harm and doing damage. Now, when you face a predicament like that now in 2015, like we saw at the mall last night, what challenge does that present the law enforcement to get ahead of it, to beat them to that spot, Bill?
That's a real difficult challenge, but they have access to the social networks as well, Bill. And one of the things that really disturbed me yesterday, these kids were let out of school. No transportation because they shut the transportation down, and there are no yellow buses in the city of Baltimore. This was ridiculous to let these kids out of school onto the street with nothing to do except throw bricks, throw rocks, throw whatever they could get their hand on and torment the police department. That's absolutely wrong. The social media does give the kids, flash mob kids, a heads up and a lead in this whole thing. But the bottom line is they should have been better prepared, and the officials who run that city should have taken the leashes off the police to let them do the job in a professional way that I know they could do it. But they weren't permitted to do that, and shame on those people in Baltimore.
That was yesterday, and now we wait to see what happens today to try and figure out whether they got it right. Bill, thank you. Bill Gavin, former assistant director for the FBI from the city of Boston. Bill, thank you for your time and joining us today.